You are a Disney villain. You were like the Disney villain. Do you realize that? I mean, you're like all sorts of Disney villains all rolled into one right now. You've got Scar's thirst for power. You've got Hades' temper. You've got Captain Hook's craziness. You've got Maleficent's dress.
Hey everyone, welcome back to Embrace the Journey. My name is Brandon, and welcome back to the podcast. I have an amazing guest for you today. Probably, honestly, up to date is going to be my favorite guest that I've had on this show. It's an honor to have this gentleman on. But without keeping you waiting, let me introduce him. My guest today is an actor, singer, author, and comedian. He has been on commercials and acted on television, but the biggest role he's played, and the role that many of you would know him from, is a character he played for 10 years who goes by the name of Genie. From Aladdin, a musical spectacular that once played at Disney's California Adventure. He's got the biggest laughs and the most claps every show and always knocks it out of the park. Welcome my guest, Dylan. Welcome, sir.
Such an abrupt cutoff for the applause.
Yeah, it's. I have a guy off to the side that just goes,
Stop.
yeah, and he just, perfect. How are you?
I'm great. Thanks for having me out here to do this.
Yeah, thanks for coming out.
I hope I live up to that introduction.
You are going to live up to it.
All right.
Just by being here. So, first question I've been asking a lot of guests just because this year has been crazy. How has this year treated you? How has it been 2020 for Mr. Dylan right here?
I mean, everybody, likes to say that 2020 has been an absolute dumpster fire.
Yeah.
And in a lot of ways,
yeah.
It's definitely had its ups and downs, some big adjustments into my plans for the year.
Yeah.
I had all sorts of stuff lined up, and the year was off to a gangbusters start, and then the industry came to a screeching halt and had to pivot. And but I found work to do and creative outlets.
Nice.
I found love this year.
Really?
So there we go. Yeah.
Congratulations on that.
Thank you.
Awesome. I did see on your social media, you're doing, I'm curious about this. You're doing a lot of virtual stand-up comedy.
A lot of virtual stand-up comedy, a lot of virtual improv, and virtual part of a virtual variety show as well.
Got it. Okay. And how has that been?
Definitely a learning curve. A lot of fun. It's certainly great to have this weekly outlet.
Yeah.
To do something with.
Yeah.
It all started with a bunch of Disney people, actually.
Really?
Yeah. One of my friends from Disney who actually met, I didn't meet him at Disney. I met him actually doing his shows. He was doing these shows live. Paul Carganilla would do these, what he'd call Paulie's picnics. Mm-hmm. And he just did it as an opportunity for his friends to try new things. And, people who wanted to do comedy, he'd give them that outlet. And he found venues, he'd get access to a dance studio. One time we did a show in an airplane hangar. And everybody, it was bring your own chair, bring your own snacks. People would perform music, people perform comedy. We do improv. And we do these once every few months.
Yeah. And
I was involved in a few of them. And the last live one we did was Leap Day this year. That was the 20th live show.
Wow.
And then, of course, everything shut down. And he had the ideas let's see how we can do this online.
Yeah.
So every Saturday night since the end of March, we've been doing these variety shows live. We've been doing some pre-recorded stuff, live improv, live comedy, live music. Mm-hmm. And everybody, and a lot of Disney people coming in to do this and all trying stuff. And that's, we've done 30 of those now.
Wow.
Yeah, so it's been 30 weeks. It's That's the thing too. It's it's amazing. We've done this many shows, but now it's wow, that's how long this has been going on too.
Yeah.
So there's this great and this really depressing part of it.
Yeah, it's honestly, when this whole thing started, I was there's no way this is lasting more than 2 to 3 months. I'm there's no way. And here we are.
I recorded this video. I made this video based on those masterclass things. I made a surviving the stay-at-home order masterclass. And it was just, it's all just me just being lazy and eating cereal and all this stuff. And at one point I say, they say it's, a month, then they say it's, 2 weeks, then it's a month, and it's 2 months. They keep moving the goalposts, and you just don't know when it's going to end. And you just have to accept that this is the end.
Yeah.
And that's starting to feel really real. And
Yeah.
it was a joke at the time.
Yeah. I don't know. This whole year has been unpredictable, but I'm not sure if you're a Dodgers fan. The Dodgers did win.
That was so great.
Yeah.
Since the first time since 88.
Since 88.
Yeah.
So I recorded it, I think the last 2 hitters, and I'm like, dude, this is history right here.
Oh, that loss that they took the other night, though.
Oh my, the with the errors,
With
right?
a double error.
Yeah.
I was like,
That was tough.
this is not going to go well.
Yeah. As soon as that happened, I'm like, oh my goodness.
Pulled it out.
Yeah.
Yeah, I was born and raised in LA, so I'm like default a Dodgers fan.
That's right. Yeah, I love it. I'm so happy for them. Happy that they won. With questions, so when it comes to doing the stand-up comedy, obviously when you're doing comedy in front of an audience, you have reactions, you have laughs, you have not laughs, which are like the worst.
That
right?
happens a lot. Yeah.
Yeah, you say something, no one laughs. The crickets laugh. But when you're doing it virtually, how has it been different and are you pitching the joke slightly different than you would live?
I do pitch the joke slightly different.
Okay.
Simply because, a lot of times you're like holding for a laugh, and you could tell a joke, the same joke, just from doing Aladdin, you can tell the same joke, 100, 1,000 times, and it will hit different every time.
Yeah.
And you just ride that wave of the laugh.
Mm-hmm.
When you're not getting a laugh, and not because it's not funny, but because there's no audience right there.
Yeah.
You're just doing it to, a laptop camera.
Yeah.
A lot of it comes into like how you've rehearsed it as well.
Yeah.
Because you'll hold for a laugh. If this is the laugh line, you know where to punch it or whatever, but you'll just like give it that second for the joke to land, and then move on to the next one, because otherwise you're sitting there in silence. And a lot of times, if you're sitting at home, something's really funny, you're usually not doubled over, slapping your knee and everything like that. It's like it's usually like, huh.
Yeah.
Something hilarious would just be, huh.
Which is true. And I think also what goes to show too is when you're in an audience and people are laughing around you, it's just contagious that
Right.
the joke is that much more funny.
Yeah, and it has that energy.
Yeah.
A live room has an energy, and
Yeah.
The corner of your living room or your bedroom or your kitchen or whatever, not have the same energy.
Yeah.
There have been a couple shows. I did the Burbank Comedy Festival this year, which was all virtual. Wasn't originally supposed to be, obviously, but
Yeah.
it was all done in Zoom rooms. But what they would do is they would have the people who were watching the shows leave their mics on. So you would get some reaction. You could hear something. So you'd tell that a joke hit or whatever, because you get a couple laughs. But that's the weird thing about Zoom, too, is that one person talks, it cancels out somebody else talking. So somebody laughs here, somebody laughs here. It's like, is that a one laugh, or are those different people laughing?
You have just a
Do
whole
I
bunch,
talk now? I can't.
you just have a whole bunch of robots like ha 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 ha. Like,
And it's almost like hitting a button and having just like automatic applause or something like that.
something like that.
Something like that. That's what I need to do. I should just have like my own laugh track whenever I do
You need to
stand-up.
borrow it? I just let you do it. All right, guys, just do your intro as well.
Live stand-up in quotes. Yay!
Welcome back, Dylan. You hit it and then you come on.
What's funny though, too, you say that, we actually have that in our variety show. Yeah, when the acts are over, Paul hosts the show and he'll hit a button, it'll be applause, and there'll be stuff like that going on throughout. But I mean, it does help give it that energy, though.
Yeah.
I mean, even though it's canned,
Yeah.
but it's also like a signal to the viewer. It's like, that's the end of the thing, and there is that, like, I want to say cathartic moment, but that's not the right word I'm looking for. But you just get that sense that, yeah, that was the end.
Yeah.
That was great. So
Yeah. That's hilarious.
and
Like
it just gives you a sense of normalcy.
yeah, to just adapt with it.
Right.
Now, question for you. So you do a lot of improv. I personally love improv. Did you take any classes or go to any schooling for improv? Because
I did. I took classes with the Second City for a
Okay.
while. I was with the Groundlings for a while. And then I did, I was just involved in a bunch of different improv groups.
Okay.
And that was some of the best training, is just to get up and do it.
personally, I don't know about you, but because I know you've had a lot of different experience. Personally, with doing, because I did the groundlings for a little bit too. For doing that, easily one of my best experiences like I've ever done. Now it's not compared to being the Genie for 10 years, but I like doing improv and stuff and being in a room full of people who are just talking at the top of their head and getting as creative and in a sense out of your box. Like then, especially people who don't like talking to different people, like getting out of your comfort zone is so much stuff you can explore.
Yeah. And it's so, there's the excitement to it. A lot of people, it scares me. To getting up and talking and not knowing what I'm going to say.
Yeah.
But there's that excitement to it too. It's like fear and excitement produce like the same reaction in your brain.
Yeah.
And you just have to tell yourself sometimes that I'm not afraid of this. I'm excited for it. And it gives you a different perspective on it. And you have to have that trust in yourself that something's going to come out of your mouth, he says after a pregnant pause. That you're going to say or do something, and that you have trust in the people that you're working with, that they're going to help facilitate that, and you're all going to be working together.
Yeah.
It doesn't always work, but you also have to trust that that's okay.
Yeah.
That you can fail and you'll just get back up on the horse and ride again.
Continue to do it. I think it helps you to also understand that like everything doesn't have to be perfect.
No.
Like not at all. You just go with the flow.
Nothing
It's funny. I remember in one of the classes I did, we were doing a scene. It was me and this girl, and of course everything's improv. So I looked over to her and I was like, "Hey, how did you want to play this?" She's like, and then she just, I'm like, okay. So then I looked forward, and then she just went on and started her line, and I was like, okay, and I went with it.
Apparently, that's how we're playing it.
Yeah, I was like, all right, got it. So moving on from that, you are an author.
Yes,
and you've written. It's 3 books total.
In this series, yes.
In this series, correct. So the first one that you did write, was it Apparition, correct?
Apparition, yes.
Okay, so I'm going to show it to the camera to kind of show everyone right here. Dylan, I love the cover.
Thanks.
Apparition, I'll zoom in on that right there. And look at picture on the back. Love it. Tell us about the book. What's it about?
So the short line is, it's about a girl who discovers there's a ghost haunting his house, and he's fallen in love with her.
I love it, actually. Like a ghost falling in love.
Yeah, and the whole thing is like, well, he's haunting this house, so he's always there.
Yeah.
There's that sense of like, it could be like a stalkery boyfriend, like you can't get rid of him.
Yeah.
So so what do you do, and where's it going to go? But they have this connection. So she starts to have feelings for him, but he has a much deeper and more serious connection to her beyond like his love for her.
So it's like there's a twist a little.
There's a reason he's haunting her in particular.
Interesting. Now I'm gonna. Excuse me. I'm gonna. I'm gonna read the first
go
chapter.
Ahead. Go ahead.
We'll
just hang out.
Let me see. Just find out if there's. Hold on.
Sure.
Jade,
no.
Jade couldn't sleep. I'm just kidding. So okay. So that's what that one's about. Now the other 2 you have here. Let me grab those 2.
Yeah.
So these 2. You have, which one's the next one? Crossover or Revenant?
Revenant is the second one.
Revenant, this is the second book right here. And then Crossover here is the third one. And there are 3 of them in the series. Thank you again for gifting me these.
My pleasure.
Now, so I'm assuming, that's what a series is. It continues through.
Yes, the story continues.
Okay.
It's not just the one twist. That's like the big hook.
Got it.
There are a lot of twists. To pat myself on the back a little bit.
Yeah.
A lot of the reviews.
Hold on, I think I have an automatic patter.
Oh, okay. Do you? Great. I try to like write my chapters almost like episodic TV.
Mm-hmm.
So at the end of the chapter, yes, it concludes that chapter, but there's that little bit of a cliffhanger just to get you to read the next one and the next one and find out the next piece of information that's coming out, the next secret that's revealed, the next twist to the story, the next.
Mm-hmm.
So there's always something coming up or new or changing so there's not just the one change throughout. There's
several changes.
Lots of people are hiding things and secrets get revealed.
Now you did say this is your first series.
Yes.
So are you currently working on the next?
I'm currently working on another series. I have a series of just really bad detective novels.
Okay. You should publish them.
They're on Amazon. The ebooks are on Amazon.
Okay.
But I wrote them just for NaNoWriMo, National Novel Writing Month.
Okay.
So every November there's this challenge to write a 50,000 word novel in 30 days.
Wow.
So I just regurgitated out these not at all realistic police procedurals with these like snarky characters and everything. It was just for fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. If you just want something silly and mindless to read,
Okay.
they were silly and mindless to write. So,
And what are they called?
they're the Watson Parker Detective series.
Watson Parker Detective.
Dead Sexy, Dead Weight, and Dead Ringer.
Okay.
So there are 3 of those. I might write more. I don't know. But I am working on my next series. I've been working on this series for 6 years, 7 years.
Really?
And
It takes time.
but I mean, like I've put it down, I'd pick it up and put it down and pick it up. And now with, well, you're home now. So I'm hopefully going to finish a final draft of the first book in this series by the end of the year.
Okay.
So it is
Look forward to that.
tentatively called the Orion Abduction. And
Okay.
so while that series, the Apparition series, is centered on ghosts, the Orion Abduction, the Orion series, is about aliens.
I like it. Okay. I'm starting to sense a pattern here.
Yeah.
I'm kind of interested in the paranormal.
Well, paranormal, supernatural, yes.
Yeah. So I did mention in the introduction, you've been on a couple of commercials, done some acting and stuff like that. One of the commercials you were on was called HEB, which is Here Everything's Better.
HEB, yes.
HEB. Oh, that's what
Yeah, it's not HEB. Anybody watching this in like southern Texas or anything like this? HEB.
HEB. HEB.
HEB.
Wow. Okay. I should have put little dots there.
It's all right.
HEB. Here everything's better. There you go. It ran during Super Bowl 45.
Yes.
I had to look it up. I don't know how to read those things. So I was like, let me see what Super Bowl that is.
Do like your translate to Roman numerals?
Yeah.
I have to do that too.
You did one for Oscar Mayer.
Yep.
And you did one for Blue Shield of California.
Yep.
And go ahead.
And I was gonna say, I mean, those are some of the that I've actually got the footage to that I've posted.
Yeah.
I even did one this year before the whole lockdowns for Cox Communications.
Oh, got it. Okay. Nice. And then so you also did some acting, and it seemed like a pretty big part in a show back then called The Monk.
Monk. There's no the.
Well, yeah. I think I'm just gonna pass it over to him. I'm calling. I got Heb and I got The Monk.
It's
my goodness.
It's like that line in The Social Network. Drop the. Just Facebook.
The.
Cleaner.
So acting in a show, Monk.
Monk.
But yeah, he had a pretty big part in that. So how was that? I mean,
it was one scene, but it was a guest star role, so
Yeah.
that was nice.
Yeah.
Or a co-star role.
it was more than one line, so that's
Right, exactly.
That's out of
So
the
that was
park
nice.
right there.
Wish I had more of those. That was a fantastic experience.
Mhm.
Just from the moment I arrived to set, everybody was friendly and helpful and wanted to work. And I was fortunate enough that my scene was with the 4 leads and the guest star.
Wow.
So it was all of them and me.
Yeah.
So I'm just like, this is the best day ever.
Yeah.
Really great. Everyone was professional and friendly and welcoming and open to my ideas. And I'm showing up on their show,
Mm-hmm.
For one day.
Mhm.
And they're like, oh, I said, and I'd try things like, that's funny. What if you did this? Or it's like, hey, what if we did this? And they were like open to like being collaborative. It was great. And my stuff was shot by lunch.
Wow.
So it was a half a day. I was done. I was like, okay, well, thanks everybody. Guess I'm going to go. And they said, well, we're going to watch like the rough cut of the most recent episode. Do you want to join us? Or yes, I do.
Of
So
course.
it was
Now,
great.
when you shot it, how many takes did you do?
That's hard to say, only because when you're shooting, film and TV, if you're asking like how many takes, because it was one scene,
Mhm.
but you're breaking that down into several shots. So some shots, I do in like 1 or 2 takes. Others might be a close up, like I was like pointing at something or whatever and saying, oh, the paper was weird, or your hand just missed it. Or,
So like B-roll
Yeah.
shots, right?
right.
Okay.
So
kind of shifting from the acting, let's start talking about a little bit of Disney.
all right.
So you did Minnie's Moonlight Madness for 14 years
Yes.
as a host. It's a
13, 14?
14.
I think it was over the course of 14 years, but I think it was only 13 shows. Because I
Okay.
think there's 1 year that we missed, or there was like an 18-month break, because it was like an annual thing, and then they shifted the date.
Got it. Okay. So 13.5.
I think there were yeah, there we go.
13.2.
Split the difference.
Something like that.
Yeah.
So it's a charity event. And kind of explain it. I did watch the video where you were talking about being a producer, and you were
Yes.
kind of, that was awesome, by the way, how you basically named all the musicals. And
I think I worked in the neighborhood of like 45 or 50 musicals.
yeah, it was pretty impressive how you worked that all in. But yeah, so kind of explain it. I'm a huge Disney fan, but I've never heard of that.
It's not something that they advertise a whole lot. It's a charity event that they do for cast members, and not just for the resort. I mean, for the studios or anything like that. Anybody who's a Disney cast member, what they do, it's a big scavenger hunt in the park. So they'll close one of the parks early, typically California Adventure, and you'll have a team of 4. One member of that team needs to be a cast member. The other 3 could be friends, family, or whatever. So that's a great thing that it brings them in. And they are roped together. They have these little clip-on ropes. So they have to remain together as a team of 4, and they are sent around the park to solve these clues. So we have Detective Minnie is running the event. So it's
Nice.
Minnie's Moonlit Madness.
Okay.
And they're running around the park solving these clues, and either taking pictures or meeting characters or just solving puzzles, answering Disney trivia. And they earn points while they do this. And then, they win prizes for the most points and that sort of thing. So there's that incentive. The money for the charity is raised by their participation fee. So every member of the team is like paying to be a part of it, and then they put that money towards charity. And it's a different charity every year.
That's awesome. I've never heard of that event, but
it's not a huge thing. They don't like push it a whole lot. It's like, it's one of the things like, if you know, you know.
yeah. Well, now I know.
Yeah, now you know.
So once everything opens up, I'm assuming they're going to resume it and have it. Well, once the parks open up and
Right.
stuff like that, I plan to go to that for sure.
Yeah.
Now, so it's a race. Now, if the first person, I'm sure it's pretty tough because there are a lot of people, but the first person to complete it, what happens then?
So it's not so much a race.
No.
You can complete it or not complete it. Like, you could solve a clue but be wrong.
Oh.
So you lose points.
Oh.
So yeah, so it's all points based.
Got it. Okay.
Yeah, there's my part of it as I would open the show. Every year's themed differently.
Mm-hmm.
So like that year, the theme was Broadway.
Yeah.
The year that you were talking about. So they made me a Broadway producer. So I wrote this whole monologue about being a Broadway producer. And what they do is they'd all come into like the Hyperion Theater. We did it at the Fantasyland Theater a couple times. And I would like introduce the evening. I would introduce Minnie. I would introduce the charity, the Disney ambassadors, give everybody the rules for the night. There was this big trivia portion. So on the big screens, we'd broadcast these multiple choice trivia questions. Everybody had to fill out their Scantron sheets. It was like they were back in school.
Mm-hmm.
They'd hand those in, and they get points for getting those correct too.
Yeah.
Some of them were ridiculously easy. Others were just, you'd see people just like, if they're going, that's a thing?
Yeah.
But they're all Disney-based trivia.
Yeah.
And it could be about anything. So you'd have to have some of the most obscure stuff.
Because I'm pretty good at Disney trivia, but I don't know if you're saying anything, like maybe what color like a tile is in this specific part of the park.
I don't think it would get. It wasn't ever that bad.
No, I'm kidding. Yeah, I got to check it out. It's funny because when I was watching that, I was like, I was watching it and I'm like doing like kind of like my pre-research, and you're like, oh, well, first of all, when you told the audience, hey, do you want to hear like about me being a producer? And like half of them, you're like, oh, thanks. Half
of you? Yeah.
And then they all started clapping. I was like, oh, he wanted to be a producer. Okay, notes. He wanted to be a producer. Like thinking like you
like legitimately.
I'm like, that's interesting. He wanted to be a producer.
It's
so
part of the shtick.
yeah. And then by the end of it, I was like, no, that's definitely for the show. And I just crossed it out.
That's just how good of an actor I am. I had you believing.
Yes. So moving on to the meat of the podcast. Everyone's clicked on the video. Everyone listening in for this segment of the video. This is Aladdin, a musical spectacular, and we're going to dive into it. He played Genie for 10 years. I got to say before I start, I know I already told you when you walked in, but how amazing you were as the Genie.
Thank you.
All the laughs, all the smiles you put on everyone's face that walked in through that door just to sit down, watch the show. Boom, the Genie came out, and their night was just made.
Thank you.
So like, yeah, you just crushed it. So congrats to you. And
Thank
also, before we get into it, At one point in time, did you leave and come back?
Oh, the show?
Yeah, or were you straight through?
Straight through. And matter of fact, in my tenure from the time I started and I did the very last closing show.
Yes, I think I was there.
I was. You think you were?
Because I don't know.
You don't remember for sure?
No, because I was there, but I think it was. So I know for sure it was the last day.
Right.
I don't know because there was multiple shows that day.
We did 4 shows a day.
I think I was there for the last one or the one right before that.
The 6:30 show was the last one.
I got to look at the ticket. I have because I think I have the ticket.
Was it me?
Yeah, I think it was you.
Then that was it because I only did that show that day.
Oh, I have video of it. I gotta look at it.
Yeah,
but
I only did that one show that day. That wasn't my regularly scheduled day.
Got it. Okay. So the reason I asked if you had left because again, me and my mom huge fans of the show and then huge fan of Genie. Well, as everyone knows, if you don't know, you're gonna know. There's multiple Genies that play.
What?
Yeah, it's not him
Magic
all the time.
ruined.
So, there's different Genies, and every time I don't know if it's for everyone else, but when you go and you have a favorite Genie, like you sit down, you're ready, comes out, and you're like, nope, not the Genie I wanted. But I mean, let's watch. But and it was. I think we were always looking for you, and I think for a period of time we kept going. And you weren't popping up. Maybe we were just missing.
So you were just missing me. So I was there 4 days a week.
Okay.
For 10 years.
Wow.
If I wasn't there, I was either not well enough to come in, or there were a couple times the show
Genie
was
not well.
I know. It's itty bitty living space. Or there were a couple times the show just like went down for like a month or two for like a renovation or something like that.
Got it.
Otherwise, I was there the entire time. But the way it worked was. With those 4 shows a day, I would only do 2. So we'd split the day. So you could have even been there on a day that I was performing, just not see one of my shows.
I should have texted you.
Right?
So real quick.
So it'd be 2 and 2, and then of course there would be 3 days during the week when I wasn't there. So.
Yeah. Real quick, how did you get into acting and singing? Because you have a great voice.
Thank you. I can carry a tune. I can hit notes.
Yeah, no, you deliver. You deliver for sure. So first, let's start with how'd you get into acting?
It's as they say, they say you got bit by the acting bug.
Mm-hmm.
That happened to me really, really young.
Okay.
I remember I was in some like kindergarten performance. It was something for like President's Day, and I don't remember why, but we were like banging these sticks together. Okay. I just remember being on the stage in my elementary school. Cafeteria, nasium, multi-purpose, whatever. and I'm like in the back row in like the corner, like the curtain is like right there. And
nice.
But I remember that was my first time, I think, being on stage, and remember being in front of that audience and just remember thinking, I like this.
Yeah.
I want to be up here more.
Yeah.
So throughout my childhood, I did like local community theater. Didn't get into like film and TV until after I graduated college.
No, so that was in that's when you were younger. Did you just continue this into high school and all that stuff?
Yep.
Yeah.
I did not only the plays and the musicals at my high school, but there were 2 all-girl schools nearby that have to import boys. So I did their shows as well. My senior year of high school, I was typically in rehearsal more than I was in class.
Wow.
Because I would be doing 2 shows at once, plus I was in choir and then school.
I was in choir too. Fun time.
Yeah.
You sing.
What'd you sing?
Hit a couple notes. A lot of songs.
Well, I mean like tenor, bass.
Oh, I was like
I probably should have been more specific in my question. That's why I'm not the one running the podcast.
You're fine. I was, unfortunately, they put me as bass. And so they put me as bass, and then sometimes they'd be like, to kind of boost the ego, they'd be like, all right, you're baritone, right? Because like you're like, okay, but like that I know, most singers want to be a tenor. Like that's where the glory is. That's where the high sounds are. So all my life, I've constantly been, and I've gotten higher, but like stretching my limit to. But yeah, bass.
It's funny. I was a tenor, and I've actually gotten lower. You can hear it now.
But tenor
in a world.
So you were born lucky, like to have that. No, I'm just kidding. But
some of those notes, I did not feel so lucky singing.
I mean, it seemed like you carried them. So talking about that, singing. When did you get into singing? Same time?
Just because through, I don't remember what my first musical was that I did, but because a lot of times, most like community theaters, whatever, are doing a lot of musicals. So that's what's available to do if you want to be on stage. So I was the Artful Dodger in Oliver when I was like 10 or 12 years old or something like that. So yeah, it just came out of necessity, the nature of the beast, that if I wanted to be on stage, I had to be in a musical. So
Did you take any classes for it, like for singing, or you just kind of naturally became?
other than, I mean, I would say my high school choir director was a pretty good vocal coach.
Okay.
And I took some like vocal classes as I got older. But a lot of it was just kind of learning as I went. I didn't take like regular classes. I'd go and I'd meet with a couple coaches and like learn some techniques and that sort of thing. But yeah, a lot of it is just experience, and your voice just starts, training and getting better with it just from use.
Yeah, from repetition.
Yeah, it's like working out or anything like that. Clearly, I don't do that.
I don't either since this whole quarantine.
Right. But yeah, the more you use it and use it well,
Yeah.
the better it will serve you.
So that's why I'd asked. So awesome, you had a great choir teacher. My choir teacher, he was right. He was very strict, but for no good reason. Like it was all right. Like, and then the schools we would go up against, like, because we did like a performing choir, so we'd go and like compete against schools, and my goodness, these schools, like one of them, they were known for doing this. They freaking did Mary Poppins, right? They performed, and no, I love that they did Mary Poppins, but their performance, it might as well have been Disney. Like it was so spot on compared to ours,
Right?
Like, and then we're just like, yeah. And then I tell people when they're like, "Oh, well, what'd you place?" I'm like, "Yeah, we placed third." "Oh, that's not bad. There was three of us, three different schools."
It's how horrible would it be if there were like divisions for choir, like there are for football? It's
There
like,
kind of is.
Is there now?
Yeah. Well, when I was singing, so like for instance, we basically how it worked. I forgot what they were called, like D1, D2. No, I'm just kidding. But I think if we were in the lower division, we would easily trump everyone there.
Right.
So he put us in the higher division, and we easily got trumped. Like they just like demolished us.
You were your own division.
Yeah,
That's what you were.
we should have been.
Right?
We should have been. But yeah. So question. So going into the Genie, what I gotta know, before you got the role as the Genie, what'd you do before?
We were just talking about all this stuff. No, like what did I do?
Like for like work wise or anything? Were you just doing stand up comedy? Or
I was doing some stand up comedy. I was, working where I could.
Yeah.
Actually, before I was at Disney, because the Genie was not the first thing I did at Disney.
Yeah.
Can open worms everywhere.
Yeah.
I was actually at Universal Studios. I was Beetlejuice in Beetlejuice's Rockin' Graveyard Review.
Wow. I gotta hear it. Hear your Beetlejuice.
Oh, it's about Halloween time here, so yeah. Here, give me 5. Thanks. I needed a place to wipe that booger. All right. You ready to have some fun? All right, stick out your right arm. Now stick out your left arm. Have a little fun.
Love it. It's fun. It's fun. Okay, so you did that. How long you do that for?
That was about 4 years.
4 years.
And I closed that show too. I did like the very last Beetlejuice show too. I was like the Ted McGinley of theme park shows. It's like, show's going really well. Dylan shows up. Oh, we're closing.
Because, I mean, 10 years for Aladdin, like that's a long run.
That was a good stretch. That was a good run.
Yeah, exactly. They saw Beetlejuice. They're like, let's see if we can get him 6 more years.
Yeah, I feel like that was like my niche. I would play characters who wore fat pads and full face makeup and enter through the floor.
How is that, by the way? Entering through the floor.
So much fun.
Yeah?
Yeah.
I've always wondered, like, so, I mean, yeah, you shoot up, but I've always wondered, I'm like, you ever have a mishap if something gets caught and like you're going up?
Nothing's ever gotten caught.
Okay.
Fortunately, there have been a couple times where just like, it's live theater. It's all technical.
Yeah.
Like we said before, not everything's perfect. Not everything always goes perfect.
Mm-hmm.
Where just like in both shows, like both at Beetlejuice and at Aladdin, the platform that's shooting you up, something will fault. and you're sitting there with like your chest and your head just sticking out of the floor. It's like, hey, how you doing? There's actually happened one time in Aladdin too, and I'm stuck like literally from like my chest up, just sticking out of the floor, and I just look right up at the Aladdin and say, rub the lamp a little harder, make this go the rest of the way.
No way, it got stuck.
Oh yeah, that's how it happened a couple times.
That's
Got
hilarious.
stuck going down a couple times. You just where it takes you a way to go down. I just crawl out and just walk away.
That's hilarious. Now, when you kind of got into it, how did you find out about auditions for Aladdin? Like, obviously, like, because I mean, they're not really known, I guess.
Well, I mean, there are, of course. I mean, everything's online now, but
yeah.
you know, 15, 20 years ago was all the trade papers.
Yeah.
So like Backstage and everything like that, and they would announce, all the theme park auditions and stuff in there.
Mm-hmm.
Now all the audition notices are online. So, but it's the same principle. You just start looking for audition notices and audition for Aladdin. And I was already at Disney.
Yeah.
So I kind of got like the inside. It's like, hey, auditions are coming up.
Okay.
So that didn't necessarily give me an edge.
Yeah.
It just I just happened to know that it was coming. The auditions were coming.
So going in there, so these are like kind of two questions.
Mm-hmm.
One, going in there, did you go in there knowing you wanted to perform as the Genie?
Yes.
And then two, if you're allowed to talk about it, how were the auditions for the Genie?
I have no idea if I'm allowed to talk about it or not, but I am no longer a cast member, so.
Okay. Well, I don't know if you plan on going back at all. If that's
who knows if anybody's going back right now.
Yeah,
no, I'm sure we will, eventually.
Yeah.
I just don't know what it'll look like. So really no different than honestly any other audition process.
Okay.
It was, I think all at once. Again, this was a while ago. This was,
Yes.
but yeah, it was a vocal audition.
Okay.
You had to like bring in your own song, and then they'd have you sing something from the show, either Friend Like Me or Prince Ali. There was a movement audition. I say movement because it wasn't really dance.
Mm-hmm.
But there was a movement audition. There was a acting audition. Like they'd give you a scene from the show and you'd read opposite somebody.
Mm-hmm.
And then like anything else, if they liked you, they called you back and had you do something else, and they call you back and have you do something else until they narrow it down. Just pretty much like anything else.
For the song that you brought in, what song did you bring in?
Oh my gosh. I don't remember. I want to say I probably did some. I tend to choose very obscure audition songs just because it's more fun for me. And there's, you got to stand out. Because everybody does a lot of the same Broadway songs or whatever. I think I did, and I can't say for sure. And there's no way you can fact check this, so.
I'll look it up right now. Siri.
I think I did Tom Lehrer's Poisoning Pigeons in the Park.
Interesting choice.
Yeah. But they remembered it.
Okay. Which is that's what you're going for, is that they remember
right. Is
it.
that they remembered and that I would sing it well.
Yeah.
Because it helps too if you can sing it well. Like
a little bit.
Interesting choice, but we remember him because he sucked.
Yeah.
You don't want that.
Yeah. They're like, it's just a thumbs up.
Right. Just that, thank you.
So you went in there knowing you wanted to perform as the Genie.
Yeah.
Now, why did you want to be the Genie?
Well, I feel like that question almost answers itself. Why wouldn't you want to be the Genie?
100%. So my next follow-up question to that is...
But again, adding to that.
Yeah.
Look at me. Who else would I be in the show? I'm like,
Baymax.
Did do a Baymax in the show, but Baymax wasn't in Aladdin.
I know.
But again, so Baymax, what are you saying? I'm white and fat? Because you're not wrong. So it'd be funny. People would find out like what I did. He plays Aladdin in the Aladdin show. I'm like, look at me. I'm middle-aged, pudgy, white, and balding. I am not Aladdin. Nobody wants to see this in a vest. See, the only way I was going to get to do anything in that show is if they painted me blue.
Yeah. So what did Robin Williams mean to you, and how did that influence your performance into going into being the Genie?
Oh my gosh. When we got the news that Robin had died, one, of course, that was just a blow to everybody at the show.
Yeah.
Whether you were a fan of his or not, he made that movie what it was.
Yeah.
Like he put it over the top.
Yeah.
It's a great movie anyway. Just the script is outstanding. The music, I mean, Alan Menken and
Oh, of course.
oh, so good. And Howard Ashman, which by the way, if you haven't seen the Howard Ashman documentary on Disney Plus, watch it.
I haven't.
So
I'll check
good.
it out.
So good. But yeah, Robin, put that movie over the top. So just everybody in the show was just it was like somebody from our show.
Yeah.
Like we lost somebody.
Yeah.
And I didn't realize what like an influence he had on my life until he was gone. And I looked back on it. I did a Facebook and Instagram post about it too. But growing up, and this is gonna date me, I watched Mork and Mindy, and I dressed up as Mork for Halloween one year. He was an influence on my stand-up. I used to watch his stand-up a lot, and his energy and that sort of thing, and a lot of the roles that he played. And I was a huge fan of the movie when it came out. So, yeah, that was a big influence. But I never wanted to emulate or imitate Robin. I just wanted to honor what he did.
Yeah.
In my own way. And I think that's what made a lot of the Genies work. There was also the whole big thing that went down between Robin and Disney.
I don't think
this. Oh yeah, the post Aladdin, they had a big falling out. Post the movie between Robin and Disney. Yeah, there was there was this whole thing where he had agreed to do it, and he did it for like scale. He did it for like nothing. He agreed to do it, one, because he wanted to do it for his kids. Two, he thought it would be fun. They showed him some like test animation they animated the Genie doing his stand-up, and that's pretty much what sold him. He's like, yeah, this looks like fun. I'll do it. But the agreement was that they would only use his name or his likeness, or actually the Genie's likeness, in like only a certain percentage of the advertising. He didn't want it to be a Robin Williams movie. He wanted it to be Aladdin.
Yeah.
And when Disney saw like what a huge hit and everything it was, they're just like, well, we're just going to push Robin Williams. And Disney was like, and Robin was just like, no, that was not our agreement.
Yeah.
So he would refuse to do press tours and stuff like that.
So wait.
So
sorry, I'm trying to kind of get it clarified. What is this for? For him to perform in the show?
No. For him to do like the promotional material and whatever. Well, I mean, that was part of his agreement. It's like, I will do your movie if you like limit my, don't put my name above the title. Don't use my image too much. I don't want you to push it as like a Robin Williams movie.
Got it. Okay.
He's not the lead. Genie's not the lead of the show. He might be the star. But he's not the lead. He wanted it to be Aladdin. And that was one of the great things about Robin too, is that he understood where he functioned in the story. He wasn't such an ego. It's just like, it's all about me. It's like, no, this is where I come into service for this story. And he got that. So that was part of his agreement. He didn't want it to be a big deal. And Disney totally just said, yeah, we're not going to honor that agreement.
Yeah.
So because of that, Robin there was like a whole like legal battle and stuff like that over breach of contract.
Wow.
And that actually led to something that we were told. We were not allowed to use any lines of dialogue that Robin used in the movie. We couldn't use any of his lines. Yeah. Because that was another part of the agreement, was all of what he came up with, especially his improvised stuff, was his, not Disney's. That was basically his intellectual property. That was part of the agreement. So we couldn't use it. It was Robin's, not Disney's.
Wow. Now, the day he passed, did you perform that day?
I did. I'd actually already performed that day when I got the news. So
got it.
There were 2 shows, lunch, 2 shows. Yeah. And I'd done the first 2 shows, and then I found out during lunch.
Wow.
So the next day, but I performed the next day as well. So
how did your performance change from before you found the news? So you had just, I'm assuming, got off, did the show, and then the next day you went into it just knowing like, that.
Interestingly, I think it refocused me into the show. Because after a while, you do a show over and over and over and over and over again. It tends to be like rote and muscle memory sometimes. Things can happen that'll like keep you in the moment or whatever.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, there'll be times during the show where I'll be sitting there sometimes after like so many days in a row and so many shows in a row. I'm sitting there and I'm doing my lines with Aladdin, but in my head, I'm going, wow, it's really weird that these words are coming out of my mouth, yet I'm not thinking about them at all. I'm actually thinking about how the words are coming out of my mouth.
Yeah.
And I'm picking this up and I'm moving like,
Yeah.
or I'll be in the middle of Friend Like Me. I'm like, I came down the stairs, right? I must have, because we're doing this part of the song now, but I don't remember how I got here.
Yeah.
It like just kind of sometimes just becomes muscle memory.
Yeah.
But when Robin passed, and it was that reminder of who you were to the show.
Yeah.
Like what purpose you serve in the story.
Mm-hmm.
And because, again, you associate Aladdin with Robin,
Mm-hmm.
it was that moment of, again, I wanted to honor what he did originally.
Mm-hmm.
And that was always like my underlying.
Yeah.
But for him, but once he passed, I figured like my next 2 shows, well, I never like didn't make a call out or anything to it on stage, of course, or anything like that. But that was just my thing, that these next 2 shows I'm going to do for Robin.
Mm.
So I made sure I was just dialed into everything I was doing.
Yeah.
Which makes me sound like a horrible performer otherwise. So it's just like, just throwing it away. I'll pay attention to this show. But.
Yeah. Well, I mean, you said it perfectly too, with when you do the show so many times, like it just becomes muscle memory. Right. So like what those 2 shows that you dedicated, you just, I don't know, you just had even that much more focus into it. Doesn't mean the other shows weren't.
Right. But it was like my way of saying thank you.
Yeah.
Like I wouldn't have been able to do that show if it weren't for Robin.
I got to say too, with your performance as a Genie, because I've seen a lot of different Genies because I've seen the show plenty of times. I got to say yours is the closest to being Robin.
Wow. Thank you.
Yeah. Like it's just like you're like you said, you never wanted to copy him. You just wanted to kind of do your own thing, but kind of take that the passion that he had. And I feel like with the little quirks that you did, how you delivered, like I can't bring back people from the dead, and like the different ways you would change your voice up and down, like it was just like, I don't know, it brought that Robin sense to it. And I've even watched a lot of videos on YouTube where you're performing, and a lot of people are like, dude, it's like I'm watching like Robin. Wow. Like it's just
wow. That's
you, like I'm telling you, you made like such an impact, and you were just you were spot on with everything you did, all the way down to even the emotion when he says like, Genie, like you're free and stuff like that, and you're just like, you have that kind of like thank you. So yeah, you definitely portrayed it into the show.
Thank you.
So I do want to say that.
That's praise I don't believe I deserve. I could never even imagine being a Robin Williams, but what makes it great is because of that's what I was setting out to do, just to honor like what he did and like do my own thing with it, of course.
Yeah.
But for that to have come across that's a lot. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. Thank you for everything you did.
Thank you. I couldn't do it without everybody coming to see the show too. So ain't all about me.
Now, when you got into the Genie role, now the first night you went out there, like cool, you got hired, everything. The first night you went out there,
my very first show.
Yeah. How was that? How was it approaching that audience? Because it's a big audience. You got lights beaming down on you. How was that experience?
Well, I mean, fortunately, I'd performed to audiences that large before.
Oh, okay,
so that wasn't new. But I also knew going into it, there's a lot of expectation.
Yeah.
For the Genie.
Yeah.
You can just show up and be blue and everybody's really happy that you're the Genie, but you also need to deliver, because eventually you're just like, all right, yeah, the Genie's there, but who cares?
Yeah.
So you have to deliver it. It was so exciting just to finally get to do it live in front of an audience and not just like the rest of the cast.
Yeah.
And like late night rehearsals and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And like see how these jokes are actually going to land, because at this point the cast has heard some of them, over and over. So, and again, it's like we were talking about before, like with performing stand-up live versus, virtually on Zoom.
Yeah.
Once you get in front of an audience, the energy changes.
Mhm.
And I knew that going in.
Mhm.
Again, this is going to kind of sound like a pat yourself on the back moment, but I was really kind of proud of this. I got hired in, and I'm in rehearsals, and I hadn't written any of my own jokes. It was strictly what was in the script.
Yeah.
And we're like 2 weeks into a 4-week rehearsal process, and I had not brought anything new. And in the middle of that 3rd week, when I finally got the script out of my hand, but I'm still doing the script, our director had pulled me aside and was just like, "What are you doing? We brought you in because my audition, I got to play and do a lot of stuff. We brought you in because of that, and you're not bringing any of that here."
Yeah.
And I said to him, "I need to get the show in my body first. I need to know this at my core so I can build on that."
Got it.
So to placate him, I went home that night and I wrote a few jokes. And so I started throwing those in. And that wasn't just for him, because I guess he was getting notes from like stage management, and a couple of the higher ups were just like, "What's with the new Genie you hired?
Yeah.
Is this really going to work out?" It's like, okay, so I had to write some new jokes because I also wanted to keep my job.
Yeah. Of course.
So they're like, "Oh, okay, he is going to work." But it was still like by the numbers, and this is where this joke goes and this is where this joke goes.
Yeah.
Not a lot of playing. And I told him, I said, "Trust me, when I get in front of an audience, this is going to form what you need it to form."
Yeah.
And he was starting to see that, like when we were like in dress rehearsals, and some of the cast was like watching the show, and he could see me like actually in the theater and everything like that. But he was still just like, "I mean, I get it, but it's still not what we thought you were going to do."
Yeah.
And I go out to do that first show. And these first shows they're evaluation shows. Like they're what they call clearance shows. Like you could do the show and they could easily go, "This is not going to work. Thank you very much for your time."
Wow.
Yeah. So again, my job is on the line. And I go out there, and that's where I get to do my thing. I can do it in front of a live audience. And a couple things like happened during the show that made me have to improvise something. I don't remember what anymore, but I just remember that I had to shift a couple things, and I came up with a joke on the spot, and it was interacting and riffing with the audience, and went really well. That at the very end, audience is just erupting and everything like that. And I come out for the "Here's Genie." Audience got to their feet for my first show, and I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
All right. So at least they think I did something right. Because I was pretty nervous that whole time, because there was a lot riding on this, just the show, my job, like this.
Important.
I just want this to go well. I just really hope it goes well. But it was that thing too. It's like, but let all that go and just have fun. And so for the most part, that's what I did. It's like, just forget the outcome, detach yourself from the results, and have fun now. So I did. And it was really great. The director came back stage after the show to give me notes, and just looked at me. He's just shaking his head, and he just went, "Okay, you were right. Now here's what you need to fix." And then proceeded to give me notes for things that he wanted me to adjust. And
yeah. And so, first of all, that's amazing to like go out there and do that. Now, also, when you were first starting, you guys had already implemented the whole like current events, right?
Yes, because I didn't come in when the show opened. I came in a couple years after the show had opened. So the show had gone through a little streamlining, had already gone through some, mutation. And the Genie was starting to be a little bit more loose and free, and could, incorporate a lot of pop culture reference and stuff like that. So I came in when that was happening.
Got it. Okay. Now, so you're in the show. You did the first show. Crazy experience, huh?
Yeah.
Okay. Now, so you got the rhythm now. Like, so you're kind of in your groove. You've done it maybe for a year or two now. So you got an idea of it. How do you prepare for a show? So like when you're backstage right before you're like coming out, obviously there's the whole beginning part before Genie comes out of the floor. How are you preparing? Are you preparing your voice?
Like how am I physically preparing for the show? So the cast, of course, every day we had vocal warm-ups, we had physical warm-ups, and everything like that.
Mm-hmm.
I never got to be a part of that, which was unfortunate because I missed out on a lot of like cast bonding stuff. But when I was, say, the first Genie of the day, I was in earlier than everybody else. So while they're all doing their warm-ups, I'm getting into makeup.
Oh.
So it's up to me to do my own vocal warm-up, my own physical warm-up, and everything like that.
Mm-hmm.
When I'm the second Genie of the day, when I come in, day's already started. Everybody's already done their warm-ups. So it's up to me to do my own vocal and physical warm-ups. So yeah, that's all. It was all on me to get that done. Take that moment of zen to refocus myself and, anything that's bothering me or affecting my performance or whatever, to let that just go and have fun for the next 40 minutes.
How long did it, maybe 40 minutes. How long did it take to get into full costume, full makeup?
Makeup would take on average 45 minutes to an hour, typically close to an hour to do. I didn't do it. There's no way I was sitting there doing that.
Yeah.
We had professional makeup artists coming in and doing it, who had all done like, special effects makeup. They're all working in the industry. They were Disney contract employees. They weren't cast members per se. One of our guys worked on like Hawaii Five-0. He worked on Heroes. He worked on Captain Marvel, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. He's done a ton of stuff. And they're all like, all the like prosthetics that we wore, one of our makeup guys did the molds, like he created the makeup. So,
oh, wow.
Yeah. So, but then the whole process to apply it and everything was about an hour on average.
So I'm assuming the makeup first, then they kind of put on the suit.
Right. Well, the makeup first, then there's some time.
Okay.
Just because the way they had to space out the day and use of the space and everything like that. So, I mean, sometimes things could happen and like show's starting and I'm still getting into makeup, but typically it would be, ideally I would be done getting into makeup by like 10 minutes to before showtime. That gives me time to relax, maybe do some of my warm-ups or whatever, say good morning to people who I haven't talked to yet, because I've been sitting in this back room in a chair. And then once the show starts, that's when we would all start getting ready as the Genie. Because, it's shared dressing rooms. So once the show starts, everybody's out of the room. So you've got the room to yourself. So that's when they'd come in and we'd get me into costume and everything like that.
Now, the costume and the pants, I got to ask, for the pants, are they as comfortable as they look like? Because it looks like I would want a pair.
They were pretty comfortable. They were very silky and flowy.
Okay.
Which, when you're wearing, flowy pants and pointy shoes, can be a disaster sometimes.
Really? Why is that?
Oh, well, because when you're moving around, the hook on the shoe can catch on the
tugs.
billowy pants.
Yeah.
I've tripped over my pants a couple times. Those stairs in front of me, I tripped running up those stairs a couple times. Never down. But a couple times I tripped running up.
I literally had a question for that. Did you ever have a misstep coming down? Because it seems
never
like
coming down.
You step. I mean, it looks like every time you're looking for the next step, and then you're also throwing like your everything on sync. Yeah,
and they worked that into the choreography, because the genies behind me are wearing like these big, like frightening genie. Their vision was so limited that those steps, varied in size. They'd start narrow and get wider because it's all on a curve.
Yeah.
So they literally had to look to see where they're stepping and then step up, look again and step up. So it just became part of the choreography to see where you're going.
Out of the whole show, like performing, was there any part in specific? I mean, you did it 10 years, so I'm sure it all became easy, but where it was the hardest part to kind of deliver? Was it those steps or?
I know for some of the cast members in those masks, it was those steps.
Okay.
The hardest part to deliver. There was a period of time, there's the part where Jafar, I don't know why this is what came to mind, where Jafar rubs the lamp. Like he's gotten the lamp away from me. He rubs the lamp and then Genie comes out and, I've got the shower brush. And it's like, lucky bird inside. And I scream when I see Jafar and I throw the brush off stage.
And what do you say?
A man.
I just wanted you to say
You just want me to say it, yeah. I got what you're doing. Yeah. There was a period of time, I don't know what happened. I could not throw that brush.
Oh, really?
I mean, I could throw it,
Yeah.
but I could not get it to where I would usually hit it because there's a tech back there who's supposed to catch the brush, but you've got this big piece of wood being flung at you. Maybe they'll catch it sometimes. Just like, no, I'll get it. You'll hear it hit the stage or whatever,
Yeah.
backstage. Fine. But there's a place that you're supposed to like toss it. Sometimes I couldn't even get it off stage. Like it went straight up. It would hit the set. It came down, almost hit the girl playing the carpet on the head one time. One time, there, the set had like that lattice in it. One time I threw it and it got caught in one of those pieces of lattice. They had to stop the show because that piece has to raise up.
Yeah.
And it's going to get caught on something. So the show, get out a thing, take the brush out, gave me a look. It was seriously like 6-8 months. I could not throw that brush where it needed to go.
Really?
Don't know what happened. There were times where I would just like in the morning when I'd get there and they were setting up the stage, I would get the brush and I would go, okay, boom, like shooting baskets, right? And then game time, I can't. And then all of a sudden, I could do it again. I just don't know what happened in my brain. That brush part of my brain just shut off.
What were some of your favorite moments as both? So as the Genie on stage and then also backstage.
Wow. On stage. Of course, when something goes wrong and you get to riff with it, those are so much fun because you can.
Yeah.
As the Genie. The rest of the cast has to be like, but as the Genie, you can run with it. Those are fun. And I feel like that's the obvious answer. There are times where you have a connection with another actor, just the way you work together. And also maybe even just like personally, like what your relationship is off stage, where you just kind of click and you have those moments. Like there are a few Aladdins that those moments where it's just like you were talking about, like the Genie, I set you free, or even just when he promises to set you free, or even like when he says, sorry, Genie, I still might need that final wish, that betrayal. Those moments are actually a whole lot of fun because you're playing something a bit more real. And when you're doing it with another actor who like hits those beats and is on that same, emotional plane or whatever, and it no longer becomes like that theme park show and you're not doing this big musical. You're creating a real moment there. And some of that is actually some of the most fun. There's just like intimate little moments as opposed to like the big jokey song stuff. Just that one-on-one, and you're getting you're legitimately like feeling whatever is happening. You can sense the audience is invested in that moment. That's some of the greatest stuff, not just at Aladdin, just like with acting in general. If you can achieve that, that's a lot of fun when you can do that.
And what about backstage? So like when it's just like I don't know if you're a method. Do you stay in character backstage?
No. I'm one of those actors who, like, if I had a better career, they would probably say to me, Dylan just turns it on and turns it off. I don't get it. Like, I don't know how he does it. And maybe that's why I don't have a better career. Because
stay the Genie backstage.
Right. Backstage was so much fun. We had so much. I mean, there were a couple pianos in the break room. There'd be songs. We'd watch movies. For a while, somebody was bringing in Guitar Hero, and so we're playing Guitar Hero in the break room.
Okay.
We'd have Easter egg hunts at Easter time. We'd do Secret Santas at Christmas time. I mean,
wow.
It is a family.
Yeah.
Because we all still stay in touch. We all still
That's
have like
awesome.
our own private Facebook group.
Yeah.
We're always messaging each other on there. Yeah, I would say that's the best part of Backstage was the family that we made doing that show. And it didn't matter how long you were with the show. It didn't matter if you were there, from day one, like some of our cast were. There were a couple people in the cast who were there from opening day till closing day.
Yeah.
Or 10 years like me, or they were only there like the last year or a year or two in the middle or whatever. Didn't matter.
Yeah.
You were in Aladdin, you were part of the family. And I've never had an experience like that before, and I doubt I will again.
That's amazing. That's amazing to hear the connection and just the bond you had back there. So I do have to ask, because I know everyone's wondering.
Oh,
the
yeah?
scene, oh yeah, everyone. The scene where Aladdin's running around, and it's mocked up as a kind of a little city, and people are walking around.
Oh yeah,
with
when he's
different
doing
stuff.
one jump.
Yeah. Is that food real?
No.
I'm just kidding. I knew it wasn't real. I just yeah.
Well, it's really there.
Hey.
You're not imagining it. You don't want to eat it though.
Yeah. Is the apple real? Actually, that is a good question. The apple that he catches, is that real?
Nope.
Dang. I knew the other food wasn't real. Don't come at me for that. But the apple, I thought maybe.
No. Slightly weighted to make it so they could throw it or whatever like an apple. But it's still just plastic apple.
I always looked forward to that part because it was either he's gonna catch it or
there's-
he's
yeah,
not
it's
gonna
just that
catch
moment
it.
of like, oh, a couple times he doesn't.
No, and I've seen that, and I'm like, let's see, is he gonna do it? Does he have the mitts? No. So going from there, what has been? Let's start. So it's gonna be 2. What has been your best show, and how was that experience?
Oh.
And what has been your worst show, and how was that experience? So let's start with best show.
Okay. That's like asking me to pick which one of my children are my favorite.
Well, no, because I'm
it's
not
just-
saying the Aladdin or anything. I'm just saying like I'm not saying like, oh, your best, like who you performed with. I'm just saying
No, I know. I mean, like the best of all the, like, somewhere there were like 5,500 performances I did. You're saying which one of those was my best?
Yeah, it was just like I
Like,
don't know.
and I don't mean like was my favorite or something like that.
In a sense, not like best as far as like just everything went well.
Just everything
everything
clicked?
yeah, everything went smoothly. And especially this is a big factor too. But like the audience is just top of the game, which most performances they are pretty up there. But like I don't know, everything was just like.
Here's what's funny.
He's gonna say every show was like that.
No,
I already
I'm
know
not.
it. I already know it.
When everything goes smoothly, yeah, that's great. That's usually not my favorite show.
Ah, look at that. The turn of the tables.
Yeah. Because then it's great and everything worked and it was like clockwork and the audience was there and you can go off going, that was a great show. But what about it made it such a great show? Yeah, it all worked, but you'll have another show that just dials right in, audience is right there, everything hits. It's another great show. Not to diminish it or anything, but to make it like one of my favorite shows or something like that is when things don't always go as planned.
All right, let's scratch that. What has been your worst show, or like when
Oh, I
things
was-
don't
'cause,
go wrong, don't go right?
Because I was going to say too, like one of my favorite shows too was actually the closing show, like the last show.
Oh yeah, we're gonna get to that.
We'll
for
get
sure.
to that. Okay, well then I'll save some of the stuff for that for later. My worst show.
Which just things were not happening.
It's not even that. What came to mind, there was a day I woke up, didn't feel quite right. I'll be okay. And going through makeup, I'm like, I'm not really feeling it. By the time I was ready, like I'm in like the little thing getting ready to go up on stage when he rubs the lamp, I'm like, I need to go home.
Oh no.
I feel so sick. It's like
Oh,
it was
no.
everything I could do not to throw up on stage. I felt so sick.
Was it like a food bug or something?
I think it was like food poison or something. Something I ate. But it just, that's when it hit me. It's like, really? Now? And the show must go on.
Wow.
So I did the show. I probably shouldn't have.
Mhm.
I probably should have said, I need to call it and, have them take me out of makeup and send me home because I'm sick.
Yeah.
But there's also that thing too. It's like, the show must go on as long as I'm walking. I can do the show.
Yeah.
And so I know it wasn't my best performance either. It was just like, that was, hitting the numbers, go from point A to point B, tell the joke, sing it as best as you can, and don't let anything else come out of your mouth. So
Yeah. Wow. And you did the whole show.
I did the whole show
Wow.
and threw up when I got off stage and
That's-
felt way better.
Yeah.
Once I did, I'm like, no, are you okay? I'm like, I am now.
Yeah.
I'll do the next show. Sure.
That's crazy.
It was horrible.
I can't even. That's always been like my biggest fear when it comes to like doing things where you need to be there, right? Like, yeah, there's a lot of things you got to do, but like for instance, there's just different. Like I started getting into recently photography, videography, thinking about even doing like wedding videography. That's my biggest fear is you have a wedding, it's that next day, and you're super sick. Out of nowhere, you just get super sick, and it's like, you can't cancel that. That's their wedding.
You have to show up and you have to power through.
Yeah. So it's like, it's those moments. So while you were the genie, what were a couple of your favorite genie lines?
Oh, wow. One of my favorites was when Aladdin proposes to Jasmine.
Okay.
And she refuses him.
Yep.
And there's that moment with Aladdin and Genie standing there. And Aladdin's like, what do? I don't know what happened. And I said, I know, Al. I know how you feel. Deflated, like a Patriots football. That was one of my favorite lines. I always enjoyed telling it. Because it was that mix of reaction. It was just like that. Those are some of my favorite jokes, too, when they land. Just like, oh. You still get the laugh, but you know you got to dig in there.
Yeah.
Those were fun. Yeah, I don't know why that one's one of the ones coming to mind. Fortunately, we're on camera too. The next one is more of a visual joke. It was like rule number 2. Rule number 1. What are the rules? Wow.
So since you're going through it, since you're going there, why don't you say all 3 rules?
That's what I'm trying to do right now. This is
you could take time.
horribly embarrassing.
You could take time to think about it, but go ahead and then.
Rule number 1: there's no wishing for more wishes.
Yeah.
Wow. I know everybody listening to this like, there's no wishing for more wishes.
Yeah.
Say it.
Right. So go.
Rule
for
number 1: there's no wishing for more wishes, and this was one of my favorite jokes. Or as Britney Spears would say in her Las Vegas show, and you just lip sync what you just said because that's what she did.
Yeah.
That was a fun one to do. It was always fun to do Schwarzenegger.
Yeah.
So rule number 3: I can't bring back the dead, except for the new Terminator movie. Get down now. Get to the walker. Go.
And what was that, rule number 2?
Rule number 2 is I can't make anyone fall in love with you. Trust me, I tried that with Taylor Swift, but shake it off.
Perfect. That's what I was looking for, waiting for.
It's so many things. If the show were still going, can you imagine? Could you imagine this show in 2020 if we were still allowed to be open?
Oh my!
Holy! Every day would be a different joke.
Yeah.
Every day is a different joke. Oh wow!
Yeah. I did notice. There was a period in time. I don't know when it shifted, but I mean, it seemed like at every moment, we tried to pour a lot of emphasis on the genie and give the genie a lot of attention, which is everything he deserved. But there was a part where was it? So after you take off his like kind of cape or whatever, and you're like, hey, go get her, and he leaves, and then like the walls close in, and you're right in the middle,
right,
and then you kind of like do the
be yourself, Al,
and you start going back and forth and doing the.
Oh yeah, that was a bit that I wrote.
Was it?
Yeah,
okay.
that was my bit.
So you did that, and then even after that, you just pause and stop there, and then everyone starts cheering, and you start going like, you just started staying there.
It's just that moment of awkward.
Yeah, and like everyone's cheering. I'm like, because that wasn't always in the show.
No.
And then so I saw that, and I'm like, that's awesome. But you wrote that whole
that run right there. The Be Yourself is in the show.
Yeah.
Then I started like, what other like character advices have been given? What other character advice had been given? So be yourself, Al. Stay out of the light, Carol Ann. Use the Force, Luke.
Yeah.
Run, Forrest, run.
Yeah, that was amazing.
Oh, when you're talking about like favorite jokes too, that was the other thing because we didn't all do the same jokes.
Mm-hmm.
Like, some of us would, we'd come up with jokes. That would be a thing. Like if the first genie's in the makeup chair, second genie come in, check in. I'm here, so you don't have to do all 4. Don't worry.
Yeah.
Hey, is there anything new? Are you doing anything new? Or do you hear about this going on? Do you have a joke for that?
Mm-hmm.
And we'd share jokes and we'd come up with ideas or bounce things off of each other sometimes too. And the rule was if one genie came up with a joke, it was up to them to try it on stage first before any of us could do it.
Got it. That's smart.
So, because it was their joke, we wanted to make sure it was theirs. So we'd do that. There were some jokes that other genies had come up with that I thought were hilarious and I loved them, but I couldn't tell them, and not because I can't tell that joke, but because the way they played the genie versus the way I played the genie, it didn't translate. It didn't flow with what with what I was doing. But I think one of my favorite jokes, and it only got told once, and it wasn't mine, but I was there that day. So it was the other Genie that day.
What set the scene? What was the scene?
Okay, so the scene is Jafar has the lamp, waiting for Genie to grant his wishes.
Okay.
And it's the scene where Genie's doing like his little riff right there. And it's like, make me the Sultan. It was like right then. It was like, make me the Sultan. And there's that sound effect and poof.
Yeah.
You are the Sultan of Agrabah. Do, 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 do. Of Agrabah. Do, 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 do. Of Agrabah. Do, 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 do. I'm backstage. I'm downstairs listening to the show on the monitors. I am crying laughing. I thought that was the funniest thing. It was so simple. I was like mad at myself for not thinking of it myself, you know? And he couldn't tell it again.
Why?
They came because even though I think at the time Disney did own the rights to the Muppets, we technically couldn't do other songs in the show. It's like, so they came back and they said, really funny. We love it. You can't do it. But at least it got told once. That was also kind of our philosophy. It's easier to ask forgiveness than permission.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. I told an OJ joke in the show.
Did you really?
Yes. When he was being accused of like, you know, armed robbery, when he like broke into that Vegas, well, not broken, but he was in that Vegas hotel room, held that guy at gunpoint, was like trying to get his stuff back.
Yeah.
So for a while I would come out of the lamp and be like, oh, does it feel good to be out of there 10,000 years? And where's all my stuff?
Yeah.
I had all this stuff here. Now it's just rocks. Did OJ take my stuff too?
Oh, no.
I got away with telling that joke for about 2 weeks until finally they came up and said, maybe we don't want to reference someone who's been accused of double homicide in the show.
Yeah.
I'm like, fair enough. Because sometimes we'd like fight for a joke. It's like, it's a really good joke, or this is why it works. And sometimes you'd go, all right, I see your point, and they'd let you do it. That one was like, oh yeah, I'm not going to fight you on this one at all. Absolutely, I'll stop telling that joke. I get it.
Yeah, my goodness. I think that's what kept the show so fresh and people coming back. I mean, the Genie for one, but like to hear, okay, what's the current event they're gonna say
that
now?
made it a new show every time.
Yeah,
they made it something different.
Yeah, so I think that just delivered spot on. So I did ask you. So this is the part where I'm gonna ask.
Oh, this is the part. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
You gotta.
I knew this day was coming.
No. If you would sing for however long, a little portion of Never Had a Friend Like Me in your theatrical Genie voice. And it's going to be a cappella, because if I use music, that's a copyright strike right there.
Here's what's funny too, is that most of that song is actually talk, singing, or character voices. So I really wasn't doing a lot of singing, if you think about it.
Well, there you go.
So let's see.
You got the lights shining, everything, and
pressure.
And I'm wearing my Aladdin
You are
shirt.
wearing. I meant to say that before. I love that shirt.
Thank you. It's from the Broadway show.
The Broadway show, yeah.
So quick thing before you get right into it is I saw the Broadway show. Amazing show, amazing talent. I still prefer Aladdin Spectacular. 100%.
We did too.
Yeah, 100%. But take it away, Mr.
Oh, trying to think of, should I start at the beginning?
Yeah, start at the beginning and go for as long as you'd like. Stage is yours.
Well, Ali Baba had them 40 thieves. Scheherazade had 1,000 tales. Well, master, you're in luck, 'cause up your sleeves, you got a brand of magic never fails. You got some power in your corner now, some heavy ammunition in your camp. You got some punch, pizzazz, yeah, who and how. Said all you gotta do is rub that lamp, and I'll say, Mr. Aladdin, sir, what will your pleasure be? Let me take your order, jot it down. You ain't never had a friend like me. Ha ha ha!
Amazing. Thank you so much, dude. When everyone watches this, they're just going to be like, oh my goodness, just brought me right back into the show.
And it's like, that's what he looks like? I'm so used to that voice coming out of something blue.
Something blue, yeah, but amazing. You delivered. Thank you so much on that. So moving on from that, last show. We're going to talk about the last show. So it comes up, actually, first off, before we talk about that last show, let's talk about how you felt when they announced that there was going to be a last show. When they said, hey, we're going to actually, dude, I want to know so much. Okay, so one.
Well, that's why we're here.
One, they let you guys know, hey, the show is going to be closing down. So that's one. And then two, I never fully understood why the show did close down.
Neither did I.
Like,
I think partially too, I mean, I don't know what the official reason is or anything, but my understanding was that we'd been there. By the time we closed, it was 1 week shy of 13 years.
wow.
We closed like 6 days before our 13-year anniversary.
Mm-hmm.
I think it was because show tech had grown so much in the time that they mounted our show that they had all this new technology that they could employ. Like the video wall that they've got for Frozen and everything like that, and the rotating stage and everything like that. They have amazing effects in that show.
Yeah.
So they wanted to do like a big update, tech heavy kind of show that would really showcase what they can do, that Disney magic. Why they couldn't do that with Aladdin, I don't know. But I mean, Frozen was such a huge IP for them.
Yeah.
So they're just like, I think it was just like, we're going to cash in on this,
Yeah.
on this wave and ride it while we can.
Mm-hmm.
So I think they just felt it had run its course. But we were I think, what they say, the third longest running show in Disney history.
Wow.
First being the Golden Horseshoe Review.
Never seen.
Second being Fantasmic, and third being us.
Wow.
I think that's correct. If anybody wants to,
Fact.
comment on this and fact check that, by all means, just what I seem to remember.
Yeah. What? So then, when you guys got the news as
Yes.
a cast, how did that feel?
It's one of those things, like when your girlfriend says, "We need to talk."
The worst.
You know it's not going to be good news. We need to talk.
Did they
I just won the Mega Millions lottery, and
Yeah.
we're going to share this forever.
Yeah.
No, it's never that. And it's always like at the beginning of the day. It's like, hey, when I get home from work tonight, we need to talk.
Yeah.
You're going to spend the whole day just going, what did I do?
Yeah.
But we kind of knew it was coming. Like the writing was on the wall for a little bit. Like we knew something was coming. We'd come close to closing before. After about 7 years, we almost closed. They were
Really?
about to put Toy Story, the musical.
I
in the
heard
theater.
about that, and so many people were against it.
We had a closing date.
Yeah.
They brought in a cake to congratulate us and thank us. Like some of the higher ups came in and, you guys were, after so many shows and blah, 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 blah. And then didn't happen. There was like so much of like a backlash or whatever. Or they're also seeing just like the expense
Yeah.
that it was going to cost. And they didn't want to do that either. So there's like, Aladdin's working well. Let's keep that. So that was a reprieve. But all shows close.
Yeah.
It's going to come. And we saw, I don't remember how we knew it was coming, but rumors were buzzing that they were developing the Frozen show and things were happening because people just didn't do Aladdin. There were other people who had other, hands in other things in the park. So word gets around that things are being developed. So it's coming. So the day that they say, hey, after the last show when everybody's out of costume and makeup and everything like that, we're all going to meet in the theater.
Mm.
It's never like, hey, we discovered this, big cache of gold underneath a stage. Everybody gets some.
Yeah.
It's so, as you probably guessed,
Mm-hmm.
the show's going to close. They gave us the end date and everything like that. They at least had the courtesy and the professionalism, and we appreciated this a lot. I know I did, to tell all of us before they sent out any sort of official press release or anything like that first. So we didn't find out through social media or anything like that. They told us before they told anybody.
Mm.
So that was a good thing.
Yeah.
I mean, as much of a good thing as that can be.
Yeah.
But yeah, it was one of the things where you're just all sitting there. You're just like, it's coming. Just tell me the news.
Mm-hmm.
And there it is. Okay. Yeah, it's real. It's
Wow.
just that moment of like, it's coming. It's not real until they say it.
Yeah.
And
I think there was even a petition going around to not close it.
Oh, yeah.
And a lot of people
a
signed
lot
that
of people
thing.
signed it. But
I
I,
mean,
I think at that point too, because they don't just make an announcement to close a show without a plan.
Yeah.
So they'd already invested so much time and money and energy into developing Frozen
yeah.
that this was a fait accompli. It was going to happen. So
Yeah. No, it's such a shame. I
I
wish I
know.
could go back and just, who
Me
knows? I
too.
don't know. Yeah. But, all right. So going into the last show,
Mhm.
into the last performance, where was your head at? What was your mindset at?
like going up to it or like that day?
That day?
That day. I mean, that was just a surreal day.
Yeah.
Just because it wasn't going to be like a regular show day. This was the last show. This was monumental.
Yeah.
And It was the 12th of January, 10th of January. Wow. It was the 10th of January. So news that the show was closing was happening for a while. So like all through like the holiday season, everything like that, they were starting to do like fast passes for the show. Like people were lining up all the way out to like almost the front gate of California Adventure.
Yeah.
So that was crazy to have that kind of, response and support.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So for that last day, it was one of those days like the day Robin died.
Yeah.
We're just like, gotta be dialed in, gotta be on your game, but know that this is the last time you're going to do any of this.
Mm-hmm.
This day is the last everything.
Yeah.
And that was hard. And then it didn't even start like a normal, it was already weird. Because we had like the big cast party afterwards. I was going to be over at the hotel. So I came with my family and we parked at the hotel. I didn't park where I normally park. I didn't show up by myself. I had to take like a shuttle over. Everything was just different from the beginning.
Yeah.
But they rolled out a whole red carpet for us backstage.
Nice.
Leading up to the artist entrance door and like this balloon arch and whatever. And of course, so many people are just like, hugging and crying and saying goodbye. Because some people like didn't do the last show, but were doing other shows that day. So like the first show was their last show.
Yeah.
And things like that. And of course, former cast members, current cast members who weren't in the shows were all there. So, I mean, it was potentially very overwhelming.
Yeah.
But you just had to like the stomach flu, you got to press on and and get through it. And at the same time, just like absorb everything.
Mm-hmm.
So,
were you nervous at all to perform that last show?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was extremely nervous to perform that last show. Because it was the last show. There was a lot of excitement and anticipation for it. The crowd that night. Wow. I mean, it was like being a rock star.
Yeah.
It was a rock concert.
Yeah.
That was crazy.
Mm-hmm.
So there was a lot of anticipation and everything like that. It was, again, one of those things like probably could have done no wrong, but I didn't want to phone it in. I didn't want to screw it up.
Yeah.
So I wanted to make sure that this is the last show. I want to make sure it goes off well, as best as I can do it for like what I'm going to give to it. So yeah, really nervous for that.
I think it was awesome how you named all the genies, you named the Aladdins, Jafar, I think
I did all the Jafars, Aladdins, and Genies.
Got you. There you go.
Who'd ever played the role.
Mm-hmm.
So coming up to the last show, about a week before the last show, or even, knowing there was a last show, I was like, I knew I wanted to do something special and different in that Jafar
scene. So awesome. Yep.
Because we'd gone down for hiatuses before, like, for like theater renovations, and we were closed for like a couple months. So like that last show, I'd play a little bit and do something different. And then people say, are you going to do something like that? And it's like, well, I'm going to do something like that, but I'm not going to do that.
Yeah.
But I didn't know what I was going to do. And it was maybe 4 days before the last show when it occurred to me what to do. And all the other stuff in that whole Genie bit, I had never done before. I did my whole like boo boo yay, which I'd done a couple times. And of course the poof, you're the Sultan and Salt and Pepper Shaker.
Yeah.
So I started it and ended it with material I'd done, but everything in the middle. And it's, I haven't seen it in so long, but I think it's 8 minutes, 10 minutes long, that whole sequence, which is only supposed to be like 2.
Yeah. Yeah.
It was all material I had never done before in the show. I wrote specifically for that last show. Had only rehearsed it to myself. So like doing comedy on Zoom, you're just doing it in your bedroom by yourself.
Yeah.
Hoping it goes well. So yeah. So the cast had no idea what I was going to do. They just knew I was going to do something. Crew had no idea what I was going to do. I was going to do something. And I assured my director, I said, I'm going to do something different for the last show, but I promise you, I won't do anything that'll make you have to go into a meeting on Monday morning. So I'm not going to go, forget Frozen. I'm not going to do that. So I just came up with this whole like run of Disney villains and everything like that. And then into listing all the Jafars and all the Aladdins and all the Genies. And like I said, I came up with this idea 4 days before the last show. So I wrote all that over the course of a couple days and reaching out to everybody going, who are all these people?
Yeah.
And it was like, I don't know why you want to know, but okay, here.
Yeah.
And then I was literally just spending like the next 2 days. I mean, the jokes and everything like that were pretty easy to remember, but it was those lists of names that I was just going over and over and over and over in my head. Even driving down to the park that day, my wife at the time, which we didn't listen to the radio or anything, it was just me listing the names over and over the whole time.
Wow.
So
the jokes you did of Kronk and Yzma and those, were those written or were those just off the
Those
top
were
of your head? Okay. Those
that was,
were
yeah,
written.
that was all written.
And the Vader and all that kind
That
of
was
stuff.
all written.
By the way, and I told you this off camera, you have an amazing Yzma. Can you do an impression
I can
of
try.
Yzma?
Well, what I did in the show
Go
was
ahead. Yeah.
I was comparing Jafar to all the Disney villains.
Correct.
So I was saying he was, what did I say? He had Scar's lust for power.
Correct.
He had
Hades temper.
Hades' temper. He had Maleficent's dress. He had even that dim-witted sidekick.
Yeah. Oh, you said
You were holding Ka from the Jungle Book.
Yeah.
You even have a dim-witted sidekick like Kronk.
Yeah.
But that would make you Yzma. Street rat must have found the lamp. Yes, Yzma. The lamp should have been. Oh, that's what it was. Street rat must have found the lamp. He's supposed to be trapped inside the Cave of Wonders. Yes, Yzma. The Cave of Wonders is where he should have been trapped. Should have been trapped in the Cave of Wonders. The Cave of Wonders was the trap. Well, we might have a little tramping of our own. Kronk, pull the lever! Wrong lever!
This is like, why do we even have that lever?
Why do we even have that lever?
So spot on. And then when you went into the Vader one, I'm like, you have a great Vader. The search your power, or you know it to be true. Yeah.
Search your power. I can't do it right now.
Yeah.
I don't have.
But
Search your power. You know it to be true. I
Yeah.
don't have my bass with me right
you're
now.
fine.
Yeah.
You're fine. But you did it so deep. I mean, anyone, I'll post the clips too in the description. He just killed it.
So much fun.
But
It was the Luke that was the most fun to do about that.
yeah. No, that's not true. So good. So when you were, all the times you would do the riff to Jafar, did you ever make any of them break?
Oh yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Anytime I've seen this, I don't think I've seen one Jafar break.
Some of you'd get that little shake, or you'd see them like chuckle or whatever. There was one time early on, it was like within my first year or two doing the show, where I made the Jafar like literally double over. I made him break.
Mm.
We were backstage and we were watching the 40-Year-Old Virgin.
Oh, nice.
And there's that scene, you know how I know you're gay? Blah, 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 blah.
Yeah.
And I'm like, God, I was like, it's such a great riff. And I know that they're like, improvising a bunch of those
Paul
lines.
Rudd and
Paul Rudd
Seth Rogen.
and Seth Rogen. Yeah.
Yeah.
And they're improvising some of those lines.
Yeah.
Or they're getting fed to them by Judd Apatow or whatever.
Yeah.
It's such a great bit. And I'm just like, it's too bad we can't do something like that in the show.
Yeah.
And Lance Roberts, who is the Genie or the Jafar that day, turns to me and he goes, you know how I know you're evil? Gives me a little raised eyebrow and then walks out of the room. And I'm like, oh, I've been challenged.
Yeah.
So it was the last two shows of the day. So I was the last two, and we were watching it during lunch.
Mm-hmm.
So first show, which was show 3, I didn't do it. I did the regular Jafar scene. Also, too, because I was trying to come up with the, you know how I know you're evil lines. Fourth show, last show of the day. I do the whole like, you're so evil, you're so evil. You know how I know you're evil? And I just said, and I took that moment and said, you know how I know you're evil? And I saw him just go, oh, like, it's happening. He's really going to do it. And, oh no.
Yeah.
And I threw out a couple and got a great response from the audience. And he started like laughing a little bit. And I could see him like shaking and losing it a little bit more. And I don't know why this line was the one that made him break. So, you know how I know you're evil? You know Ursula from The Little Mermaid? You think she's hot. And he just he's holding onto his staff, doubled over and just shaking. And that was the biggest one I ever did. But there'd be moments where you'd see like Jafar's laugh or whatever. And those were like those Tim Conway, Harvey Korman moments from the old Carol Burnett show where Tim Conway would, make Harvey Korman laugh. Those were
Yeah.
just so much fun. It never worked when you were trying to do it. Like, take that back. I was trying to do it that time. Well,
Yeah.
no, I wasn't trying to make him laugh. I just accepted his challenge of, you know how I know you're evil, insert joke.
Yeah.
And like, I did like 5, 6, 7 of them, something like that. So I wasn't trying to make him laugh. I was just accepting his challenge.
Mm-hmm.
But a lot of times, yeah, if you're going out there trying to make them laugh, even if you're going to, you don't even, it telegraphs.
Mm-hmm.
It's like, I'm not doing this joke for the joke. I'm doing this to get you.
Yeah.
And the Jafar can sense that. And so they'll just get more rigid and resist it more. But if it's just something that comes up and is natural and whatever, and the reaction is natural, that's when it's fun.
Mm-hmm.
When you're not trying to do it and it just happens.
Yeah. That's hilarious. Before I kind of wrap it up, was there any
Sure.
stories I missed in regards to closing the show down, all that kind of stuff? Because I know you said you were going to save some stuff for later. I wasn't sure if we talked about it already.
That was one thing. There was one thing that happened in that last show. That actually goes back to a couple things we were talking about before.
Sure.
We're talking about like, making sure you're in the moment and making sure you're that sort of thing. So again, I'm going through all these names and everything in my head. I'm going through the bit in my head, like the Disney villain bit in my head, rehearsing it over and over again. So I have some time during the show when they sing Whole New World, or Jasmine has her song, which everybody calls Lucky Bird, but the song is actually called To Be Free.
Oh, I think I called it Lucky Bird.
We all call it Lucky Bird.
Yeah.
But she sings her song, and then they have their scene, and then they do Whole New World.
Mhm.
So I have all that time. Well, that's usually a time I go downstairs. They touch up my makeup, because you're getting a little sweaty. The glue's coming up. The paint's starting to run a little bit. So that you have time for a little catch your breath, fix your makeup, get fresh, and come back. I was going to use that time to just go out into the stairwell and just run that one more time in my head. Unfortunately, during my entrance scene in the cave, my mic gives out.
Mm.
If you watch the show back, there'll be a moment where you hear it like, you start pulling like, and you can't hear what I'm saying for a second.
Mm.
Well, I'm wearing 2 mics.
Yeah.
So our sound guy, JP, who is amazing. JP saved my life so many times in that show. Just if there were times where it's like I wasn't feeling well, I did my voice with him. He knew how to boost me and just like help me.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, all of our sound techs were great, but I cannot tell you how many times JP saved my life in that show.
Mm-hmm.
And then that night, he was our sound tech. Just quickly switched over, okay? Primary mic off, backup mic on. That one started to fail.
Mm.
Somehow, I made it, the mic survived getting through Friend Like Me and Prince Ali.
Mm-hmm.
And then I have some time.
Mm-hmm.
So instead of running off and like practicing my thing,
Mm-hmm.
he's got somebody on the board, and now he and the other sound tech, the backstage sound tech, are there frantically. I'm like off in the wings. Like I can see the stage and everything like that. They've got, my bodysuit undone and everything to get to my mic packs, and they're trading out. I've got a whole new microphone, whole new mic pack and everything like that, testing it backstage and the backstage like headsets and whatever, making sure this works.
Mm-hmm.
But my entire time, and the assistant stage managers are there, like standing by, holding, like helping me get dressed and redressed. Our dressers are there. It was like this big production. I'm just standing there having this all happen to me because there's nothing I can do.
Yeah.
So that totally took away that rehearsal time.
Wow.
I didn't get to review it one more time like I thought I was going to.
Yeah.
And it's like, it was literally, they just literally got me snapped back in, zipped back up, boom, you're on stage again.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't have a second. And then that scene happens. And so it's just like, got to trust myself that I know it.
Mm-hmm.
And made sure I focused and was in the moment and had to do it. So a lot of times it just comes down to just like trusting that you know what you're doing.
Yeah.
I didn't know that I knew what I was doing.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times I don't feel like I know what I'm doing, but sometimes I guess I do.
Mm-hmm. Have you seen the new Frozen show?
Yes.
Yeah. What do you think about it?
Spectacularly, visually spectacular.
Mm-hmm.
And the talent in the show
Mm-hmm.
is insane.
Mm-hmm.
And one, I mean, I know some of the people, so I already know they're talented, but
Did they transition? Some transition?
a lot of people transitioned over
Okay.
that. But then there are a lot of people who I didn't know before in the show, where there are moments in that show where my jaw's on the floor with just how amazing some of these performances are, or some of the visuals are. To be honest, as a show, I was underwhelmed.
Mm.
Again, visually in the experience, incredible.
Yeah.
But as a show, I was underwhelmed. I thought it was a lot of stuff being crammed into a short amount of time.
Got it.
And there's too much to follow, too much they were trying to do.
Yeah.
I think it could have been streamlined more. This is the writer in me.
Yeah.
Just going, oh, well, they probably could have streamlined it. And I get that it had even been cut down from when it originally opened.
Mm-hmm.
But it gets dark really quick.
Yeah.
And then just like suddenly this happens and then this. And it's like I had a hard time keeping up with where everything was and who was like, and I knew the story and everything like that, but just as quick as they had to get through everything, it's like as soon as I'm invested in one moment, something else is happening, and then something else is happening. It's like I don't have a moment to breathe. They don't have a moment to breathe. So I think if it was able to run longer, I think they would have found more streaming, and that it could really. I mean, it's a great show already, but I think it could have been even better.
Yeah. Okay. I just wanted your thoughts. I've seen it.
I was a little bitter, naturally. Honestly, I didn't see it until this year, like just before the parks closed.
Wow. Okay. I held off for a while.
I held off for a really long time. Well, and I'd moved out of state for a while too, so I wasn't even living here. I flew in to do Minnie's Moonlit Madness.
Really? Where'd you move to?
I was living in Dallas for a while.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
How was that? Good?
I like Dallas a lot.
Yeah.
Oh, humid, but not terrible.
A lot of people are moving over there.
Yeah.
Well, Texas in general.
Yeah.
Do you plan on returning at all once the parks open?
To Dallas? No.
Do you plan on returning to do any shows or anything?
I don't have any plans.
Okay.
But I have things that I want to do and goals that I want to achieve, and if something comes up at Disney that fits that need and I fit their need, I'll go back.
Got it.
This is something that we didn't talk about. I'm a big proponent of mental health awareness.
So am I.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Oh, we totally get into this. One, because I've suffered from depression and anxiety for years and years and years. And I know Robin did too. And so many people do, but it's like such a subject that nobody talks about.
Yeah.
Last year I started a project to just kind of not necessarily bring awareness to mental health, but just kind of like as like a support for mental health awareness. I opened an online t-shirt shop called affirmativity.com. So affirm, itivity, I-T-I-V-T, I can't spell. Affirm and positivity. So affirmitivity.com. And I've like shirts and all these other things. Actually, hold on a second. We have masks too. Look at that. So here's one.
I love
zoom
it.
on that.
I love it.
But they're all things like this. So it says, be inspired, but the word inspire in it is highlighted. So you have inspire and be inspired. I have one that says, I'm broken, but the I'm okay is highlighted.
Oh, those are awesome.
I have one that says depression, but press on is highlighted. So press on through depression.
Dude,
I'm broken, but
awesome.
I'm okay. Yeah. And I've like 12 different ones. If you're happy and you know it, thank your meds.
Dude, yeah. Did you mention the website already, right?
Affirmativity.com.
Affirmativity.com. I'll definitely check that out. I'm really interested in that depression shirt. But so you said you struggled with depression and anxiety?
Yes.
Got it.
Big
so
time.
I've dealt with it off and on. I've learned to kind of cope with it, but I do know every case is different. Some people have it more severe and stuff like that. But yeah, I've been in pretty dark places when I was younger, especially when it came to, I won't even, the thoughts basically of going full, like producing that act. And I've just had to just kind of pray and just try to just get myself out of the house, because that's like the worst thing, is to kind of be in your mind. But what has helped you?
Oh my gosh. Support from friends and family.
Okay.
Helps a lot. I meditate, I journal. I've been in therapy. I need to go back to therapy.
Mm-hmm.
That helps a lot.
Yeah.
I was on medication regularly for a while. Now I only take it kind of like as needed.
Mm-hmm.
There was a period of time where I was so anti-meds. I'm like, I don't want to medicate myself. I want to actually deal with this head on. And I realized I couldn't.
Yeah.
I needed that boost to help me get to a place where I could think clearly and understand what was going on with me. Yeah, and I know everybody deals with it differently. I was going to mention this off air, but since we're talking about it, this is a great experience for me, not just because I get to talk about the Aladdin show and that experience, because I haven't done that in a while. So it was nice to relive some of those memories.
Yeah.
I am seriously considering, have been for a little while, starting my own podcast in talking about this.
You totally should.
And just, not offering, advice or therapy or anything like that, just sitting down and talking to different people about their depression, their anxiety, their struggles with their mental health, and just how they deal with it and what they do, and just make it more of a public discussion.
I totally agree. Yeah, I think that would be awesome. That's literally what you were doing with your shirt. I think that's amazing, but basically what you have on your shirts and stuff is the same thing on actually kind of the backing on why I created this podcast.
Yeah.
So the podcast is Embrace the Journey. And the reason I created it was because I wanted to talk about different people's background and their kind of walk of life, so that you could kind of see how they get to where they're at and the journey they've been through. But also I've wanted to create kind of a clothing line that was very inspirational, very positive. And basically that's why when I saw Be Inspired, I'm like, that's exactly what it was. So I think that's amazing. And then yours is even more geared to, mine's just trying to have clothing that people can be proud of, that just promotes that positive energy.
Right.
And yours
that's where I was originally going with it.
Yeah.
But this just resonated with me
on
such a personal level that when I hit upon a couple of the ideas for the slogans or whatever, I'm like, oh, that's what this store is. That's what the idea is. That's what the basis of the podcast will be. Just to, especially the I'm broken, but I'm okay.
I think that'd be awesome. Yeah, for sure. In regards to starting a podcast, if you need any ideas or thoughts,
absolutely, let's talk.
Reach out to me and I'll let you know and stuff. But yeah, I think that's so awesome that you're doing that. And once you do get it up and running, let me know.
Absolutely.
Sounds
you should
good.
be on it.
Yeah, I think it'd be.
Please
be awesome. It'd be
All
awesome.
right, done. I'm my first guest. My first guest on his own show.
You just come here to record,
right? Yeah.
We just swap seats. Well, that is going to wrap up this podcast.
Wow.
Thank you so much again for coming on for just sharing your story. And I think they will. I'm pretty sure they will. Hope everyone who listens just enjoys it to the fullest, as I did from just listening and the stories and the singing.
I hope they do too, because I get really self-conscious talking about myself a lot. I'm just like,
no, this is we need a statue of the Genie in the park for sure. Right next to it, just right outside of Frozen, just right outside. But before we wrap up, please do let everyone know everything as far as where they can find you with Instagram, website, book, all of that stuff. Go ahead, you could talk to that camera.
I'll talk to that camera. So, of course, you can find me. You're holding up the book. We'll start with this. There's the Apparition series, which is available on Amazon. Just search up Dylan White Apparition, and you recognize the cover. That'll be that. So you'll find my books there. Links to them are also on my website, dylanwhite.com. I'm on Instagram the most, so if you wanted to find me and follow me on Instagram, I'd love that. Thank you. I am at It's Dylan White, ITS Dylan White, on Instagram. I have... let's see. Those are the big places. Friday nights, I do a live improv show, and Saturday nights, I'm part of the online variety show, which you can find at vaudacitynetwork.com. That actually links you to our YouTube channel, where we broadcast those, and all our past shows are on there as well.
Well, thank you so much for coming in.
So much fun.
Thank you to everyone watching, listening. If you're new here, hello, my name is Brandon. This is Dylan. Please do subscribe down below and give this video a big old thumbs up. Love you all. Love everyone. Love all my listeners on audio only as well. But this is definitely an episode you want to check out on YouTube visually. And yeah, hope we brought that spectacularness, that's not a word, but to you. Anyways, I will see you on the next episode. Take care. See you later. Bye.